Welcome to our exploration of the Israel-Palestine conflict, a protracted struggle rooted deep in the heart of the Middle East. The land known today as Israel and Palestine has been a focal point of cultural, religious, and geopolitical significance for millennia, sacred to Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. The seeds of the current conflict were sown towards the end of the 19th century, with the rise of nationalist aspirations among both Jews and Arabs. From Ottoman rule to the British Mandate and beyond, external powers have played pivotal roles in defining the contours of the conflict. Understanding this conflict requires an examination, not just of historical events but also of the narratives and memories that each side holds about these events. By examining these narratives alongside the factual historical developments, we aim to provide a nuanced understanding of the past, present, and potential future of this enduring conflict. The historical claims to the land of Israel and Palestine trace back thousands of years, with both Jews and Arabs asserting profound spiritual and ancestral connections. For Jews, the land is Eretz Israel, the land of Israel, promised to them in biblical times and a central part of their religious and cultural identity. For Palestinians, this land is part of their ancestral home where Arab peoples have lived and ruled for centuries. The rise of nationalism in the 19th century added a modern dimension to these ancient claims. Jewish nationalism, or Zionism, emerged in Europe as a response to pervasive anti-Semitism and the desire for a safe homeland for Jews. Concurrently, Arab nationalism was on the rise in response to the declining Ottoman influence and the encroachment of Western powers. The early 20th century saw these tensions escalate with the Balfour Declaration of 1917, in which Britain expressed support for the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. The subsequent decades saw increased Jewish immigration and growing friction between the two communities, laying the groundwork for the later full-scale conflict. Following the defeat of the Ottoman Empire in World War I, the League of Nations granted Britain the mandate to govern Palestine. Britain's dual promises to both Jews and Arabs, supporting the establishment of a Jewish homeland, while also respecting the political rights of the Arab inhabitants, proved to be untenable. The contradictory promises heightened tensions, leading to periodic violence and deepening animosity between the two communities. The rise of Nazism and the horrors of the Holocaust drove many Jews to flee Europe for Palestine, dramatically increasing the Jewish population. The situation reached a tipping point, and Britain, unable to contain the escalating violence, referred the matter to the newly formed United Nations in 1947. The United Nations proposed a partition plan, which recommended dividing Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem as an international city. This plan was accepted by Jewish leaders but was rejected by the Arab side, who saw it as further compromising their rights to self-determination and sovereignty over their land. The rejection of the partition plan led to the outbreak of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, a pivotal event that resulted in the establishment of the State of Israel and the displacement of a large number of Palestinians. The British Mandate and the UN Partition Plan are critical chapters in the history of the Israel-Palestine conflict. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War marked a significant turning point in the Israel-Palestine conflict. This war resulted in the establishment of the State of Israel and the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, a moment deeply ingrained in Palestinian memory as the Nakba. In the wake of the 1948 war, the armistice lines, known as the Green Line, were established, dividing Israeli-held territory from areas controlled by Jordan and Egypt. Tensions remained high, and in 1967 the Six-Day War broke out. This conflict resulted in a decisive Israeli victory and the capture of additional territories, including East Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza. These territories remain at the heart of the conflict today, with their status being one of the most contentious issues in peace negotiations. For Israelis, the wars were seen as necessary for survival and the fulfillment of a historical and cultural reclamation. For Palestinians, these events represented catastrophic losses and the beginning of a prolonged occupation. The legacies of these wars are still visible in the ongoing disputes over borders, the right of return for Palestinian refugees, and the status of Jerusalem. The Palestinian Intifadas are among the most significant events in the history of the Israel-Palestine conflict. The First Intifada, which started in 1987, was a grassroots uprising against Israeli occupation, marked by widespread protests, strikes, and clashes. The Intifada was characterized by iconic images of young Palestinians confronting tanks and soldiers with stones, symbolizing their struggle and resilience. The Second Intifada, which erupted in 2000, was more violent and widespread than the first. Triggered by a visit by Ariel Sharon to the temple Mount Haram al-Sharif, it led to a series of violent encounters and significant casualties on both sides. This intifada saw the use of suicide bombings by Palestinian militants and harsh military responses by Israel, leading to a significant deterioration in Israeli-Palestinian relations. The uprisings also led to significant changes in Palestinian political dynamics, with the rise of Hamas in Gaza and a split in Palestinian governance between the West Bank and Gaza. The legacy of the intifadas continues to influence the strategies and attitudes of both sides. The Israel-Palestine conflict has been shaped by a number of charismatic and influential leaders whose actions and policies have had a profound impact on the course of the conflict. On the Israeli side, figures like David Ben-Gurion, the primary founder of the State of Israel and its first prime minister, and Golda Meir, who was prime minister during the tumultuous times of the 1973 Yom Kippur War, have been pivotal. On the Palestinian side, Yasser Arafat stands out as a symbol of Palestinian nationalism and resistance. As the longtime leader of the Palestine Liberation Organization, Arafat was a key figure in internationalizing the Palestinian struggle. More recently, figures like Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, have sought to achieve Palestinian statehood through diplomatic means. Each of these leaders, along with many others, has left a lasting legacy on the conflict. Their leadership styles, decisions, and the ideologies they espouse have shaped the strategies and tactics used by both sides. In recent years, the Israel-Palestine conflict has continued to evolve, marked by a series of events that have significantly impacted the regional dynamics. One of the most significant recent developments was the U.S. decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel in 2017, a move that led to widespread protests and condemnation from the Palestinian side. The escalation in Gaza in 2021 is another critical recent event. This conflict saw a significant exchange of rocket fire from Gaza and airstrikes by Israel, leading to substantial casualties and destruction. The violence exacerbated the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and led to international calls for a ceasefire. The normalization of relations between Israel and several Arab countries in 2020, known as the Abraham Accords, has shifted regional alliances. While these agreements mark a significant shift in regional politics, their impact on the Palestinian situation remains uncertain. These recent events are indicative of the fluid and dynamic nature of the Israel-Palestine conflict. The international community has played a significant and often controversial role in the Israel-Palestine conflict. Various international actors, including the United Nations, the United States, the European Union, and recently several Arab countries, have been involved in mediating and attempting to resolve the conflict. These efforts have included peace talks, economic aid, sanctions, and international resolutions. One of the most notable roles has been played by the United States, which has historically been a close ally of Israel. The U.S. has provided substantial political, military, and economic support to Israel, which has been crucial in shaping the dynamics of the conflict. However, this support has also been a point of contention, with many critics arguing that it has enabled Israeli policies that are detrimental to the peace process. The United Nations has also been actively involved, passing numerous resolutions aimed at addressing aspects of the conflict. These include resolutions on the legality of settlements, the rights of Palestinian refugees, and calls for a two-state solution. The involvement of the international community is a double-edged sword. It brings global attention and resources to the conflict, but also introduces additional layers of complexity and external interests. Understanding the role and impact of these international actors is essential for anyone looking to comprehend the broader geopolitical context of the conflict. As we look to the future, several scenarios could unfold in the Israel-Palestine conflict, each with its own set of challenges and opportunities. One scenario is the revival of meaningful peace negotiations leading to a two-state solution, which has long been the international community's preferred outcome. This scenario would require significant compromises from both sides and a renewed commitment to dialogue and mutual recognition. Another possible scenario is the continuation of the current status quo, with periodic flare-ups of violence and a persistent state of tension and insecurity. Under this scenario, the humanitarian situation, particularly in Gaza, would likely worsen. A more drastic scenario involves significant shifts in demographic and political realities, potentially leading to calls for a one-state solution. This scenario would involve rethinking the foundational premises of the conflict and could lead to a binational state where Jews and Palestinians share political power. Each of these scenarios carries its own set of implications for the future of the region and the lives of those who call it home. Diplomacy and international law play critical roles in shaping the course of the Israel-Palestine conflict. These mechanisms are essential for facilitating dialogue, resolving disputes, and setting standards for acceptable behavior in the conflict. International law in particular has been a crucial battleground, with issues such as the legality of settlements, the rights of refugees, and the status of Jerusalem being hotly contested. Diplomatic efforts have included a range of activities from high-level peace talks to back-channel negotiations. These efforts are often spearheaded by major global actors like the United States, the European Union, and Russia, as well as regional players like Egypt and Jordan. However, the success of these diplomatic efforts has been mixed, with some initiatives leading to significant breakthroughs like the Oslo Accords in the 1990s, while others have faltered or failed. As we reflect on the complex tapestry of the Israel-Palestine conflict, it becomes clear that the journey towards peace is layered with numerous challenges and profound questions. The future of Palestine and the broader region hinges on the ability of all parties to navigate these turbulent waters with wisdom, courage, and an unwavering commitment to justice and human rights. The role of international diplomacy and law cannot be understated, as these will continue to shape the contours of peace and conflict in this historically rich yet troubled land.